Wait, don't throw your blade out. In this video, guys, we're going to be looking at blades, right? How to determine whether or not your blade is worth salvaging. Well, why would we want to do that, Arch? Well, guys, you know, things are getting expensive, and they're just going to get even more expensive. And over here at Arch's Garage, you know, old Uncle Arch is often known as the frugal mechanic. And, you know, I like to save money. So let's save some money. Let's see if we can salvage your blade. I salvage a lot of blades here. I go through a lot of blades, and a lot of them actually wind up being pretty good. So in this video series, we're going to actually take a look at that. We're going to go over checking blades, checking the lawnmower, the actual engine, to see if the crankshaft maybe is bent, checking your blade to see if it's bent. We'll talk about sharpening, hand sharpening with a file, sharpening with a grinder, refurbishing the blades, getting them up again, maybe even putting a little paint on them.
The cheap paints are garbage. You just
so now, stay tuned for this, because in this episode, we're going to actually look at the condition of the blade. We're going to test to see if the blade's okay. I'm going to give you a couple examples of what, you know, in my travels here through the shop, of what I find, how to check to see if the blade is bent, okay, in a couple of different directions, and again, check to see if the crankshaft is bent on your engine. And so we're going to go over that. Stay tuned for that coming up right now. But the first thing always in this scenario is to check to see if your blade is good. So take your machine, turn it on its side, and always turn it towards the muffler. And the reason being is there's going to be fuel in it. Get ready, some of it might spill out. Try to do it when maybe your tank is low or there's nothing in it. If not, don't worry. If you turn it to the muffler, right, whatever fuel might spill will run a little bit back into the motor, but it's not going to run out onto your air filter. Maybe your air filter is new. It's not the oil that would normally spill if you turn it towards the carburetor. That's not going to spill into the carburetor. It's not going to spill into your new air cleaner. If anything spills, it's going to spill towards the muffler and on the ground. Put something down just in case, a little tray, a piece of cardboard. And it might get on the muffler, guys, but don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. If it does, just wipe it off. And in this case, guys, whoever had this machine before me, they hit something, and it actually caused, it must have destroyed the blade, because it caused the flywheel to spin a little bit, and it broke the key. A little key that kind of aligns the flywheel with the crankshaft, and that was all damaged. I went through it, and the point of this is I'm willing to bet that this blade, right, is relatively new blade, that happened. Maybe it still ran, maybe it didn't run well, it might have been really hard to start, it might have kicked back on the guy, it might have run to some degree, but that's probably, you know, the big reason for why this machine just had too many things going on. And that's another reason why you want to check your blade, because not only are you checking your blade, but you're also checking the machine, because that can actually bend the crankshaft. And if the crankshaft is bent, you're going to see it in the blade. It's not going to lay right. And these next couple of tests and checks are going to help us determine, has the blade been bent? And if so, then what next? Now, that's a different episode of how to get into, is it the blade that's just bent, or is it the engine? One quick tip on that is, if you have a brand new known good blade and you put that on there and you're seeing that it looks like it's bent or something's bent, you know it's a new blade and a good blade, then it's your crankshaft that's bent. But again, that's a little bit beyond this sort of episode, but that's a tip for you guys, because if you did hit something, it might be the reason why you're watching this is because you think you hit something. You know, 1/8 of an inch, you're not really going to notice. But you start seeing things like, you know, 1/4 of an inch and stuff like that, yeah, could be the motor. All right, let's get to the next segment. I'm just going to spend a minute with a crescent wrench. Just stick it in there and just bend it back out of your way. Now, you can take a vice grip too and make it a little bit neater, but this usually works pretty good. I'm just going to make this look a little bit neater because it's all twisted. Yeah, he hit something good. That's better. Now it plugs out. So I can spin it to check it, but I can see. Right? Now if you want to look to see if it's bent, if the shaft is bent, all right, so I'm going to take a measurement up here, and it's about 3/8. And spin around, make sure you take the plug out, or take the ignition wire off, and it's also 3/8, okay? So she's not bent, I don't think there's anything damaged. What I'm going to do is bring this around. Oh, see that's hitting my nail there, but not only is it hitting my nail, but my nail is sticking in. I haven't moved my finger. So it's off about 1/4 of an inch, somewhere around that 3/16. That would make the blade kind of wobble. So what we want to do is we want to take this back off and see, maybe the blade is bad. So it's most likely the blade is bent. So we may want a different blade. Sometimes you can find another spot where you can see it. Yeah, this blade's a little bit verklempt. Right? It may not matter very much. So what I want to do is I want to find a different blade and see what's going on with it. Now here's something I should have done, at least I should tell you. Right? You always want to make sure this is clean, there's no burrs on it, because if it's ever been like put on wrong and it's jammed and blunted over, right, the blade won't fit right. Now this one wasn't all that bad, but still. And if you want, you can put a little grease on that so it doesn't rust, and that, you know, because you might have a blade that might sit on there for a while, so you can put a little grease on it. Now keep in mind, a lot of what I do, right, is for making money. And a lot of what I do, right, these are techniques that might be good. You know, maybe you don't want to do it because you're making money and you don't want to spend the time. But maybe you want to do it for yourself. So now this is not a mulching blade, it's a standard bagger blade. It will mulch, but it says grass side. But it's a standard bagging blade. And this I have a nice bag for this, so the last one I did too. Two before that, yeah, I think. We're gonna find out in a minute. So they don't all get mulching blades. I did this a while back, and I'll do a couple of blades, and then I'll put them on my rack, you know. Okay. I'm gonna do the same test. This is a nicer blade, but maybe there's nothing wrong with it. We could try it, but I want to just see. This blade. So I'm gonna put my finger there and see if the blade hits it. Yeah, it actually just barely. Yeah, so that blade's a little bit bent, right? It's not the motor. Would it kind of be weird? Yeah, maybe a little bit. I could probably bend it back. I might save this one. I'm going to write on it slight bend in white marker, and I might keep it for a machine that is cheap. I'll try to bend it back a little bit, and it doesn't have a bag. It would make a good mulcher blade. This is a little bit more expensive, this machine. It's going to come out nice, but on the machines that, you know, $80, $100, look, you don't get much for that. You still getting the arch stuff, but what the hell you think you're going to get? All right, so far this motor looks like it's pretty good as I'm going over it. It's time to get a blade on it. I want to do a test, and I want to put the blade on, and you can see how dirty this is, and as I've said, this can cause the blade to not mount properly. So let's just get this cleaned off first. All right, let's go get the blade. I want to put some, you can either put oil or, you know, maybe some kind of a good lube on here that, you know, no sees or anything, but I'm just going to put some oil on it. This is a machine I'm selling. It's a budget machine. And so I always consider those things. Let's get that lubricated. Let's go get the blade. So this is the universal blade, and this one actually is for the other machine, but it's the other machine has the same mount. It was a little difficult getting it on, only because these little locating pins were a little bit dirty and possibly a little bit mashed, but it fits on real nice. But we're going to save that because the bushing for that is actually on the bolt of the other machine. So let's get this blade on, and once again, right, this is the wing. The wing's going to go towards the deck, and this, I believe, is the blade that actually came off of this machine. We got lubricant on the bolt, and that's the most important thing, that you have some kind of lubricant on there. All right, let's mount the blade, and then we're going to check to make sure that the blade isn't bent and that the engine itself, the crank, isn't bent, because this machine actually hit something. I got a little ruler here. One of these piece that broke off, which is perfect for my use. Now, it's best to take off the spark plug, or certainly the spark plug wire. All right, I've done that, because just in case there's some fuel in there, remember it's a compression machine. If there's any fuel in it, it could kick. I mean, that's start, but it could kick, and you wouldn't want your hand in the way, especially when you sharpen the blade, fingers or hand. So now one of the things we can do is we can do a little cursory check, and we can take our ruler. We'll go up at the top, and that's about 3/8 of an inch. We're going to come back around, try to avoid the compression cycle, and that's 3/8 of an inch, right? So it's pretty close. Another thing I can do is down here, I'm going to show you with another view. I'm looking and to the tip of the blade and the very edge here. Now let me adjust the camera. I'm going to take a measurement, always going from the same spot, when you choose a spot. So that's about 1/2 of an inch, all right? And that's about 1/2 of an inch. And why am I doing that? Because the blade could be bent in such a way that, and I've seen this, where it doesn't look bent, and if you just measure it this way in terms of distance, it doesn't look bent, but it's bent like this, right? One side's a little higher, it's just tweaked a little. And by doing it like this, you can then see which way is it bent, or is it bent at all. So this one's not bent. Another way to do it too is, I got my finger in here, and I can tell that it's just above my fingernail. Again, I felt the compression strokes. I'm gonna go back the other way, and it's the same there. So a lot of times when I'm buying the machines, I look for something like that. So even though this thing hit something, they must have changed the blade at some point. Maybe it ran, maybe it didn't. This blade is in very nice shape. It could almost be new. But we're done with that, and we can move forward. I'm going to test this engine out before I move forward. All right, guys, be sure to come back and check out one of my other videos. Like I said in the beginning, in the intro, I've got other videos, well, a lot of other videos, but particularly on sharpening blades, dealing with blades, and reconditioning them. You can do it. This is all within, the realm of a basic mechanic, anybody that's starting out. Don't be afraid to dig in, save yourself a few dollars. By the way, around the corner, lawnmower shop around here, well, it's a shop they do a lot of things in bigger industrial equipment as well, but they get about $125 just for a tune-up. And you know what, that was a couple of years ago. With everything going up, I don't know what they get now, but they don't clean the machines, they don't check a lot of stuff, they don't do a lot of lubrication, and that's a tune-up for an engine that comes in running. If it's broken, if it's not running, well, then that's a repair. So maybe you guys can save yourself a bit of money and just get to it. Have a good season, guys, and I will see you on the next one.